Shazam, alakazam, abracadabra, and with my magic wand, Ozempic. All magic. Well, maybe not. How about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny? Well, here's one, honest politicians. Or weight loss in 3 easy steps. Yeah, right. It's time to stop believing in magic pills and tooth fairies. Hi, I'm Jason Stanley, a social research scientist focusing on field research and clinical trials on obesity. Now, I'm here to help you understand and heal that unrelenting urge to eat, niggling just thing that just won't ever let go when you're not hungry and way past full. We call that urge the food monster. Now, I suffered from yo-yo overweight and obesity for decades. I've been where you are now, and my job here is giving you freedom from your food monster. Let's start off today's video with why losing weight is not the critical issue. Isn't that what we all want? I mean, we all want to lose the weight. So how can it make any sense when I say how to lose weight is not the critical issue? Well, really, it's pretty straightforward. You see, and I'm talking about just about everybody who watches this video has already lost weight, maybe several times. You might even be one of those people who've lost big weight, the 50 to 100 pounds or 150 pounds. I even know a couple of people who've lost well over 100 pounds more than 2 or 3 times. Obviously, knowing how to lose weight, now that's not the issue, but there are 3 critical issues. So let's take a look at what those are. Well, number one, and we've all experienced this, why is losing weight so crazy hard? I mean, it's just like, for me and for many people I've talked to, it's the hardest thing they've ever done. So when I say me, I'm just a regular guy, but I've talked to people who are doctors, lawyers. Let's take the doctors for the example. They've gone through med school, they've gone through internship, they've gone through residency, long hours working, 24-hour shifts. And yet those people will say, oh yeah, that was tough. That was real tough, but losing weight was harder. Really? Yeah. So why then is it so crazy hard to lose weight? Number two, and this is pretty much all of our story, why is it impossible to keep it off? Now, when I say impossible, really? Well, yeah, look, depending on where you go, what research you read, anywhere between 90 and 97% of the people who lose the weight gain it back. You kind of dig for that kind of information, but one that I found was really easy to find on the internet is the number of people who've gained the weight back after bariatric surgery. Right. The surgeons went in, cut you open, did all this stuff to your stomach, and they lost the weight. Yet in a few short years, over half of the people who went through that surgery weigh more than they did before they had the surgery. And of the remaining, most of them have gained back significant amounts of weight. Very few people who go through the surgery actually keep the weight off. Number three, and most important, what can be done? Well, up until now, really nothing, but that's changed. Now, if you've been following the channel, you've heard me talk about how the compulsion to emotionally eat, which is overeating, is hardwired in the brain. So that's in the brain, that's in the physiology. That's not in your willpower, your mind, your character. It's in the physical part of the brain. And that compulsion is the reason you are obese. And let's make it real clear. It's not your fault, but it does have to be healed. If you want to lose the weight and keep it off, well, just losing the weight won't do it. You have to go through and heal that part of the brain. Now, it can be healed through the specific neuroplasticity process of havening therapy. As far as I know, and I really do search around and look for studies on this thing, havening is the one and only proven therapy in clinical trials to be effective as a long-term cure. Yes, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of studies that show that different processes from social programs, say like Weight Watchers, to psychotherapy, to things like Ozempic, all of these things work well for short-term weight loss, but none of them have been shown to work well for the long term. In this video, we're going to get into an explanation of what havening is and how to do it. But first, let's understand there are limits. I'm here to tell you the truth. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a one-time magic pill? And there isn't. When I say one time, I'm talking about, like, have you ever had popcorn or M&Ms, my favorite, and you throw it in the air and you catch it in your mouth, yum, right? Wouldn't it be great if there was a pill that you could just do a one time? But that's simply not true. And another truth is, as you learn more and more about havening in this video, you're going to say, wow, I can do that at home. And wouldn't it be wonderful if this was something you could do at home on your own? Unfortunately, it's not. So we have to ask the question, why not for number one and why not for number two? Well, why not for number one? There's no magic pill. Even havening, which cures the underlying thing, is not a magic pill. Now, it will feel like magic, and some people kind of think, wow, I can't believe I've gone here. But it's not a magic pill. It doesn't work for everyone every time. And there will be videos explaining why some people are more resistant than others. That's just the way the brain works. Let's go back to the second one. Why is it not something I can just teach you how to do and you can go home and do it? Well, your food monster compulsion that responds to stress with the need to eat was created in your developing brain throughout your entire childhood. That means it's had literally thousands and thousands of reinforcing incidents to pattern that part of the brain. To unwind this deep patterning, it will take multiple sessions. Now, the number of sessions depends on the size of your food monster, and it will also depend on other compounding factors. Now, most of you will have been overweight or even obese for, let's be clear here, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, decades. So there's a lot of things going on. And you may remember from earlier videos that those long-term pathways that kind of come together, they're not the original compulsion, but there's other things, habits, etc. Neurons that fire together, wire together, so that what becomes a lightweight habit becomes a deeper habit, and then gradually becomes deeply, deeply ingrained. It has to be dealt with differently than the original compulsion. It comes in different parts of the brain. And that's the complexity. You see, there's multiple parts of the brain which are acting in concert for you to respond to stress in the compulsion to eat. So let's take a look at what is havening. Now, I'm going to start off with what is it, an explanation of it and a bit of description. Then towards the end of the video, I am going to actually show you how to do it. So let's define what havening is. And I'm having a little fun here, so please bear with me as I give you the, what do you want to call this? The scientific. It's jargon and it's silly. Havening techniques is a psychosensory treatment that uses tactile stimulation combined with neurological pathway activation to depotentiate unwanted, permanently potentiated neural pathways. Huh? It's just science speak designed to confuse and maybe to impress. So in English, let me restate that. Havening is a treatment that uses focused touch combined with recalling memories to remove unwanted patterns. Better? Yeah. Maybe still clear as mud? Maybe. Apologies in advance. We still have a little bit more to dig into to make that clear. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the professional perspective of therapies. Okay, we have three types of psycho-brain therapy. So therapeutic, pharmaceutical, and sensory. Psychotherapeutic, psychopharmaceutical, and the new kid on the block is psychosensory. So what is psychotherapy? Well, it's talk therapy. Of course, we're familiar with psychiatry. We're familiar with cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT, counseling of all types. Hypnosis can generally be part of this. Addiction therapy, and this list just goes on and on and on of all of the ways in which we talk our way through this. This absolutely does not work with obesity or with long-term weight loss. The next one is psychopharmaceutical. Well, again, we're very familiar. Pills, powders, potions, poultices, and pokes. I'm saying pokes for, pokes, shots like Ozempic. And then the third one is psychosensory. Now, there are two forms of recognized psychosensory. And that is EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and havening techniques, otherwise known as delta wave techniques. But really, the common term is simply havening. So havening techniques is a psychosensory treatment that simply uses touch combined with neurological pathway activation to depotentiate unwanted patterning. Yikes, right? Is that more gobbledygook? Or for some of you, is that a fascinating introduction? Okay, if you're those people who think that's fascinating, Tam Johnson has put out a great short 18-minute YouTube video, and it does an amazing job of explaining the basic science of what I just kind of stumbled through. And the link for that is in the description below. So for the rest of us, no more big fancy words or science. After years of developmental research, havening was released, and it was focused on trauma. Now, as it turned out, very effective as a tool for trauma, but not at all effective as a tool for long-term weight issues. Yes, it was used and has been used since 2013 when it became public for weight loss, but invariably the weight came back. If you feel you're getting value from these videos, please subscribe and help the channel grow. Or if you want more sooner than I put out in weekly videos, you can go to my website, foodmonsterfreedom.com, and download your free copy of my ebook. The website is in the description below. So, as I just said, havening would help with weight loss, but not with long-term. And this is where I come into the picture. Now, this next part, it may sound arrogant. Please, it isn't intended to pump me up or toot my horn, but rather it's to explain how havening is so extremely effective with curing chronic and severe weight issues. Now, in my earlier video, Why Listen to a Social Scientist, I explained how I brought decades of understanding that obesity is based in the patterning in the brain physiology, and that it is not the commonly thought physical or psychological issues. So it's not hormones and diet and exercise, or you're lazy and lack discipline. None of those things. Also, it's not a trauma issue. Now, I'm simply the lucky guy that is first to put the research, the social research of understanding that this situation of throughout childhood of having eating being reinforced with acceptance and joy, combining that with havening. Now, you have the two independently. That knowledge of the social environment was nothing. and independently havening in relationship to long-term healing of obesity, nothing. But when you put them together and you make the adjustments, voila, you have a cure. I mean, it's pretty darn amazing. So back to what havening is. Actually, how is it done for obesity? You're going to stimulate the skin. You usually just rub your fingertips across the forehead. Now, it could be across this way or whatever, but now this isn't a feathery little touch. It's not a lover's touch, but you don't push so hard that you somehow make it uncomfortable. It's just a soft but firm touch. And you're going to do it on the forehead, and you're also going to do this part of the cheek. You'll see some people in the demonstrations start on the bridge of the nose and come down, but it's on the cheeks above the cheekbone. So below the cheekbones, you're down into this part of the skin, and this skin is very different, and this does nothing. They might as well be patting themselves on the top of the head. It is not doing anything to stimulate the correct part. So forehead, on the face, above the cheekbones. The next part is on the arms. So if my arm is just sitting down and you were to reach through the camera and rub my arm, it would be from the shoulder to the elbow on the outside of the arm. Now, if I do this crosswise and I'm doing it on my own arms, that part of the arm comes basically at the top. So I'm doing this on my arms. Now, you need to know that because if you decide to do this therapy, you're probably going to be on Zoom, which works very, very well. And your practitioner is going to say, okay, start havening, and you're going to do it on your arms. So you'll be doing your own arms. The next part is on the hands. On the palm of the hand, not the back of the hand. Now, you'll see some people kind of wring their hands, and that's okay because, of course, the palm of the hand is being stimulated. The back of the hand, back to tapping yourself on the top of the head, it doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless as far as creating the delta wave. But when you do these things, we know that these parts of the body stimulates delta wave in the brain. Now, and when we get into deeper conversations about this, you'll learn that that's very critical. It is the key element. At the same time that you're doing this, you're thinking of a pleasant time while eating. Now, that's only in our work on obesity. You will not have this same process with other types of havening, especially when you're dealing with trauma. But in our world, is think of a pleasant time, not a traumatic time, not a difficult time, even if you had a lot of trauma in your childhood or trauma throughout your life. You're not dealing with that. You're dealing with this connection of eating, making you feel safe. So you are havening touch, and your practitioner will have you recall a good childhood memory and focus on how you felt as the scene played out. Now, they may say something to you like, tell me about a happy childhood holiday meal. So while havening, you talk in the personal present tense, and you focus on your feelings. The story is only to give you the setting. So I'm 7 years old, and we are driving to Grandma's home for Christmas dinner. I'm excited. I am so excited. You see how that's present and personal. You don't say, I was excited. You say, I am excited. Now, you may ask, well, golly, that sounds pretty straightforward. Why can't I do it on my own? I agree. It sounds like it should work. I even did a cohort in this most current research study, and I used self-havening in the clinical trial where I gave people their exercises, and they would do it each week on their own. We didn't do it back and forth in Zoom. And unfortunately, the entire cohort failed. There were not any real success anyway. So there are just too many variables that must be ferreted out by a professionally trained practitioner. Now, the good news is there are specially trained Food Monster Freedom certified havening practitioners who can help you heal your food monster. So I want to say thank you for watching. Until the next time.